start.
Welcome to Rainbow Six Esports for Oceania in 2021. We're proud to share with you the timeline for our 2021 season and the format of our Oceanic leagues throughout the year. Through a sustainable approach to the region, we now have two clearly defined tiers and a proper flow through from our newly created Oceanic Challenger League to our returning Oceanic Nationals. Both leagues will meet for 3 stages in the year-long season, with participating teams accumulating points based on results from each stage. So how exactly will each stage be played out? We have 8 teams per league, playing single round robin best of ones with overtime. A regular win is rewarded with 3 points, while a loss gives 0. When the 2 teams fight up into overtime, the winner gets 2 points, while the loser gets 1. At the end of each stage, the top 5 teams will qualify into our new Gauntlet format playoffs, while the remainder of the teams will have their placements and points locked in. Playoffs for both OCN and OCL will be best of 3s, with best of 5 grand finals. At the conclusion of each stage, teams will be allocated points based on their final standings. For OCN teams, the conclusion of Stage 3 will show us which teams have earned enough points to enter a promotion relegation tournament and fight for a chance to enter the Asia Pacific Regional League, whereas OCL teams that accumulated enough points will have their promotion opportunity into the Nationals, OCN. For both OCN and OCL, the top teams from each league will compete in seasonal finals to be held on LAN, where we will crown a champion in each league. This will be a great opportunity to celebrate Rainbow Six Esports in Oceania and come together as a community. We will have more information on these events later this year. Ubisoft's commitment to the growth and sustainability of esports in the Oceanic region is higher than ever, with 2 exciting leagues of 8 teams, broadcasting over 9 months of the year, and direct pathways through to the coveted APAC League and ultimately the 6th Invitational. Opportunities are abundant for players in Oceania. You won't want to miss this exhilarating year of R6 Esports, so follow us at R6 Esports OCE to stay up to date with our season, support your favorite teams, and catch exciting content from the best players in Oceania.
I'm running out of time. I'm running on a feeling so. I'm running out of time. I'm running out of time. Rush into the sun, feeling so. I'm running out of time. I'm running out. I'm so empty, so empty.
This could be huge. That is the fight. It's the final Playday for OCN stage 1, Playday number 7. It's going to be a cracking night of Siege. You certainly do not want to miss out on any of the matches tonight. So many different ways that it can all end for the season. Joining me tonight, of course, Harry Potter, Guz, Cast. Excited for tonight, mate? I mean, surely you are. You got to be.
Oh, I'm very excited. We've got Dev on Observer Tool. That's the most exciting storyline for me tonight. How many kills will the man miss? But no, more importantly, really tight season this year, and almost every matchup will have implications for the playoffs. So some big games ahead.
The ramifications for tonight, I mean, it just goes without saying. There's so many different ways that tonight can play out. By the end of it, we're going to be very, very happy. Let's go and have a look at the standings, of course, and see what we're getting into for tonight, how things are shaping up coming into Playday number 7, the final Playday, of course, before playoffs. Right now, it's Team Bliss in first place. And guys, at the start of the season, I think we both would have been a bit shocked to see them in first place.
Yeah, it really is a turn of fortune for them. It doesn't feel like that long ago they were fighting to keep their spot in the league, but they do reign supreme, at least for now. And in fact, they themselves, Order and the Knights, so the top 3, they've all made it to the playoffs, but there are matches, of course, tonight that could impact seeding, so they're not just completely locked where they are. The only team, in fact, that can't make the playoffs is, if we look a little bit further down, LFO, unfortunately, because they're trailing by 4 points and there's only one Playday left tonight. they can't make it, so that's unfortunate for them. And then basically anywhere in between, so that 4th to 7th position, there are a lot of different permutations depending on how these matches play out tonight.
Yeah, as you mentioned, top 3 are safe. That they will be going to the playoffs. That's Bliss, Order, Knights, and as you also said, LFO unfortunately cannot make it. But that leaves us with 4 teams that, of course, have got their playoff lifelines either in their hands or in other teams' hands tonight. So let's look at the schedule and have a little bit of a glimpse into the future of what tonight will have for us. Now, we kickstarted off with what I consider, Guz, to be the warm-up match tonight. Knights versus Bliss, of course, 2 teams in the top 3. This is a battle for top spot. This is a battle for seedings.
Yeah, and previously, maybe heading into the playoffs, the final play day of the regular season, we would brush off a game like this. But I want to stress the importance of the gauntlet format. Whichever team wins or whichever team finishes first, rather, at the end of the regular season, they secure their position in that grand final. So at the very, very worst, they finish second for stage 1, which is huge for the implications of the year, for just the stage in itself and the prize pools. So these teams will not be brushing this game off.
Following that, Chiefs versus Wildcard, and this is when things get spicy. From here on out, Chiefs Wildcard onwards for the rest of the night, all have playoff implications. And this one in particular is pretty big. For Wildcard's sake, they have to win. They're the team, guys, that of course have got a lot that needs to go right for them. Any sort of loss, they do not make playoffs. And then of course any win means that Chiefs sort of find themselves in the bundle of teams. Then we've got Rafflecopter versus Order, another pretty big one. Order of course vying for top spot. Rafflecopter need to secure their place in the top 5. They've got a bit of work to do. And then LFO versus Rhythm to close the night out. We discussed this off air earlier, guys. This is either going to be a dead rubber, or Rhythm will need to win and get all 3 points to get themselves into playoffs, of course, permitting the earlier results.
Yeah, and if your mind isn't already blown and you're spamming in chat, I don't understand what's going on, don't worry. We'll walk everyone through it very, very slowly as the night progresses, because again, there's just so many different permutations tonight, depending on overtime wins, losses, regulation, etc., etc. So we're not going to confuse everyone too early here, and we'll just step it one by one as the games progress.
Let's go and look at the predictions from our expert panel. It's pretty close towards the back end of the season. So close that you're either tied first or you're tied last. That's how close it is. But what a split down the middle to close off the season, guys. We've got some left of field predictions. Ducky's still on the LFO bandwagon. Of course, Manic Monday, he has to be the one to try and mix things up a bit with Rafflecopter and Bliss. He's going for the chance to win. And then you got Chiefs on the left side and Wildcard on the right side.
Yeah, look, I was talking a big game on my predictions this year, but clearly they weren't great. In fact, to be completely honest, none of our predictions are really up to scratch. Like, what's the best win-loss ratio? Literally 50% going 12 and 12. So that really just shows how wild this season has been. And look, again, I'm sure tonight is going to throw a couple more spanners in the works.
Well, the big thing for me here, right? This is the big one, Guz. Dev, yourself, and I have all gone the same thing, except Dev has gone wildcard. So we are either going to be above Dev or we're going to be below Dev. There's just no in between. It also means no matter what happens tonight, we're both going to be below Raven. So I really don't like how this season has played out. It is what it is, though. And as you said, I think it's very indicative of the season as a whole. Not even just OCN, but even APAC South. It's been just so inconsistent, which is either a good thing or a bad thing. I'm not sure which way you really want to spin that. It's up to your own interpretation. But it has been fun. That is for sure. So whether or not the team inconsistencies is a bad thing, I guess we'll find out maybe in the latter stages of this year and see how the rest of the year will shape up. But for season one, it's been a blast. It's been a roller coaster of fun throughout these matches. Let's turn our attention, though, to the matches as a whole, guys. Of course, we kickstart today with Knights versus Bliss. This is a battle for top spot. And firstly, I do want to touch on Bliss because these guys have impressed probably more than any other team this season based on probably the expectations we had coming into it.
100%, and I think those expectations were rightfully justified. Again, they scraped through relegations last year to secure their spot this year, and having a look at this roster, so many of these players have been stepping up on various occasions. Players that come to mind are probably Oda, particularly late round, clutching up. You've had Repix on the entry, Maining Zofia playing really solidly. Shade, I know, gets a lot of love in the chat. He's been around the scene for a long time alongside Todd. I mean, even Nazgul, let's just mention them all. Really showing up here in only his first couple of seasons of competitive play. So this team for me has been a little bit of a dark horse, but they're a serious threat. They could very seriously finish at the top spot.
Well, they're in the top spot at the moment. So if Bliss win this game and they get all 3 points, they will actually secure top spot regardless of the other results tonight. So destiny in their own hands. Their opponents, though, the Knights, who got off to a very slow start to OCN Stage 1, guys. We weren't sure whether or not they would make playoffs, what was happening with this team. Was it full focus on APAC South? Well, in the end, their skill prevailed. They're in the playoffs. It's just a matter of where they're going to be sitting.
Yeah, you are right. It has been a little bit of a sketchy year for the Knights. And in fact, heading into this Playday, they're the only team in the top 3 that's actually suffered a regulation loss where they've gotten no points in that match. I believe that was against the Chiefs, 5-7. Correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, it's been a little bit of a weird season for the Knights. I think it's probably fair to say that a lot of their focus has been going into APAC South. But as we've echoed a couple of times, it's important that you don't give all your focus there. Because if your results start to slip in OCN, it's only going to filter down.
Yeah, and look, I think I mentioned it probably after Playday 2. Knights were, I think, actually still without a win. Eventually, their raw skill, their raw mechanics would see through for the rest of this season for OCN. We saw that, yeah, they got off to a slow start, but we knew mechanically they were just too good to languish down the bottom for too long, and we've seen them rise back up to the top. 11 points is what they're on right now, which no team below them that's outside of a playoff position can actually overcome. So that's why they are 100% safe, and it's just a matter of where they're going to finish. Now, if they do happen to beat Bliss, they will actually overtake Bliss. Overall, I think an OT win, though, wouldn't be enough because that would obviously give Bliss 1 point. So they have to get all 3 points if they do want to overtake Bliss. This is just one of the many fabulous calculations that we're going to have tonight. This one, though, with less impact, I guess. Although it depends on how much first place really is going to matter, guys.
Yeah, well, I guess that question will be answered in the playoffs on the weekend, right? Which aren't too far away either. This season's just been absolutely crazy. How important will that position be? It means that arguably you get to sit back and watch the other teams play. On the flip side, maybe you don't get as much of a warm-up heading into that grand final. Personally, I would want to be in that grand final, just lock that position, and then you can focus all your study on the teams that are hunting you down. But we'll see how hard these teams go tonight for that position.
Let's go and see where we are going to be playing our matches. The other Playday was a lot of variety. It is going to be Clubhouse, though. Not too surprising. Yeah. Not even surprised to see Oregon, the other selected map at the end that was banned out by Knights. That's just maybe how the night might go. And not too surprising, considering it's, Playday 7. Teams may look to want to play things a bit safer. Go to those more structured maps, Oregon, Clubhouse, versus, say, something like Coastline or Chalet, for instance.
And I guess this goes back to our discussion about how seriously these teams want this first place. If you hold your cards close to your chest in this final play day, you might be in a better position in those playoffs. So I think you've framed it perfectly. Why take a risk in this final play day? It's probably not worth that much.
Yeah, and it may be the trend tonight, and if it is what it is. I think there's still going to be amazing games regardless of where the maps are going to be played. In this case, though, does it favor Knights? Does it favor Bliss here? I'm not actually too sure, because really for a lot of the Bliss matches that I've seen this season for OCN, when we haven't really been casting and it's been the other boys, sometimes the teams that Bliss have been playing haven't been at their best. So I think in a way, and it might sound a bit bad here, guys, but I think there's still question marks for Bliss. And what way to answer those questions than with a Knights victory, right? If they beat Knights here, boy, do they look good going into playoffs.
Yeah, they do. I mean, in terms of a form guide, the only thing we really have to go off here is a 7-5 victory to the Knights in OCN 2020 on Oregon. But that was back in September, which was a long time ago. I'm not even going to do the math on that. And a lot's changed between then. Bliss are arguably a much better team. So maybe that gap's a lot tighter. Bliss now in favor, because the 7-5 is still quite a close result. And the Knights actually did decide to ban that Oregon map out last, maybe not wanting to doubling up there.
Well, the big thing for Bliss, and I guess this is, of course, celebrating Bliss in a way, because they have had an amazing season, and yet they're still not favorites going into this matchup. The only loss that they've had all season long was against Chiefs, formerly Elevate, in Playday 2, which was a while ago. That was 8-6, and that was at a time when Chiefs found this, really peak form to start the season, which has kind of diminished a little bit as the season has gone on, as we've evidently seen. So the fact that Bliss have been able to keep their form the entire season, coming all the way into Playday 7, if they can now knock off Knights, that would also mean they would stay undefeated in terms of regular time going into playoffs. for a team such as this that, you know, under the old Ferox banner and missing playoffs and just always being short of the mark, it's a really big step up this season for them. And we'll see if they are going to be able to now come to the table to beat the big dogs, the favorites. Knights win this, they go top spot above Bliss. But Bliss win, they will secure the #1 seed going into playoffs. What an awesome time for this organization to pick up this team, follow their journey here for stage 1 of OCN. We go into Playday 7. It all kickstarts now. 4 matches to come tonight. It starts with Knights versus Bliss.
Heading into the ban phase, I was going to say the one thing's for certain, Thatcher will be banned. If it wasn't Bliss, it would have been the Knights, who have banned Thatcher out in every single game, bar only a few this year. That includes APAC South League. So I wonder what they'll actually ban out here. Might be the Capital. No, it's actually a hard breach. The only other time they've banned a hard breach this year was actually Habana. It was on Clubhouse against the Chiefs in OCN. So a little bit of a switch up there on that regard. They'll likely follow this up with a mirror if their ban trend continues, and they do. In terms of Team Bliss, they've actually doubled quite a bit into the mute ban this year. In fact, their last 3 games, they banned mute out. 2 of those on Clubhouse. So expect that to probably be taken off the board. Hey,
Homework.
spreadsheet be golden. Let's go.
Homework completed. A+ for Guz. Yeah, I mean, look, nothing too surprising here. Going to see a lot of the Maverick play as we head over to Clubhouse for our first match of the night. Knights will be attacking first. Bliss on the defense to kickstart this best of 1. In terms of Clubhouse, Guz, fun fact, or maybe not so fun fact if you're not a fan of this map, but it's now officially the most played map of OCN for this season. 8 times played. The closest, no surprise, Oregon 7. So just pipping Oregon, although that's only for the time being. Of course, another couple of games to play out tonight. And from the 7 games that we've had previously, a 51-48 split in terms of attacker-sided versus defender-sided. So it very much is 50-50 here. If you can get off to a 4-2 half, regardless if you're attacking or regardless if you're defending, you're going to be very, very happy. 3-3 is probably par for the course.
Quick peek at the Snap Fitness community vote. 7% of voters in favor of the Knights. So relatively heavy favorites heading into this one. I personally would probably put that a little bit closer to 50-50, maybe just the Knights edging out with a little bit more experience. But if the standings are anything to go by, Bliss arguably having a slight edge heading into this one. But as you mentioned, and as our predictions reflected, not only has just the season as a whole been incredibly close, but this map in particular as well, a very tight split between attack and defense.
You have to feel like the Snap Fitness community vote sort of basing it off also the previous Knights' performances and even peak Knights. You kind of think what Knights' best is versus what Bliss's best is, and Knights probably still takes the cake. But if you were to take it off this season alone, you would have actually expected Bliss to come into this as favorites, as you said, per the standings, as per the results that we've seen thus far. But that's not going to be the case, not taken into account apparently. And look, neither really it was on the expert panel. We'll see if Bliss can prove just about everyone wrong except for their supporters, which I know there's many in chat as usual. Bliss on the defense first up. They're going to go with the Jaeger and the Wamai. Really stock heavy in terms of utility down below here for basement.
Definitely leaning into the util meta. Typical attack so far here from the Knights, establishing control above, and they're satisfied. It appears that the roamers have been cleared if there were any drones established on the flank watch, and that allows the likes of Hayward to get to work on the soft breach. The kitchen hallway tends to always be taken out quite quickly, and then of course transfer that into control in kitchen. Todd narrowly misses a C4. It looked like a player may have been inside of kitchen, but they scurry away, and Todd is none the wiser.
The big thing I'm going to be looking out for in this matchup is time. Knights, more than any other team, I feel like in OCN, they play that methodical style, almost like old wildcard. They're happy to take their time, use all the time they've got, go for that 20-second push, even if they don't need to. Whereas a lot of other teams have become a bit more adapting and versatile in taking fights early or roaming earlier And we're seeing a lot more, say, opening kills and opening deaths around that minute and a half mark, for instance, where we're about to hit the minute mark. Bliss are fully turtled onto site. Knights have got full control of the kitchen, and they can do as they please for the next 40 seconds or so before they make that inevitable push.
Hayward getting a line of sight in towards Church, the double door, preventing the rotation from the defenders. Kit's in the hands of Juicy, he's over towards Moto, so there's a fair chance we might see a Church wall drop here. It looked like the wall had already been reached a little bit there in front of the black box position, a little bit unsure as to whether that's the case. In fact, it has. Wall's soft as well, so that's actually been set up, I believe, by Bliss, maybe trying to deny that point of entry and allowing Shade to play a little bit more freely. This will probably be the linchpin of the defense. If Shade is cleared, the Knights should take the round.
Yeah, it allows Shade to get those gas canisters out early. You can see he's used all of them already, even though we got 13 seconds left in the round, so no late second smokes coming out. Rapic's low over in blue. Hayward's going to go down here after Sejong got the elimination onto Shade, so it is slightly advantage Bliss, especially on the defense. I don't see a way that Knights are going to get this plant down at all. And they just fall one by one. Good start, Bliss. Knights took their time and they get punished for it.
Yeah, good little shutdown there in the end by Bliss. It's a good little hybrid of a utility setup slash a bit of aggro. I like that on the triple Church wall, facilitating the smoke play. And whilst it may not have been the linchpin I was expecting there at the very end of the round, it did bottle up the attack as they pushed down the main stairs, and as the rest of the attack tried to push through the kitchen hatch drop and in towards Armory, they were met with death. So that's a good start for the defense and a nice little momentum booster.
Nothing too crazy either, really, from either team. Most importantly, though, we didn't see really Bliss put any sort of pressure above, whether it was first floor, second floor. They weren't looking to find picks. They weren't looking to get too aggressive, too aggro in the face of Knights. We've seen some teams throughout OCN try and play that way, end up giving a pick or two away, and then they're at a disadvantage for the remainder of the round. Bliss just playing a much more structured defensive approach. Knights just taking too long to deal with that. We'll see if they're going to be able to deal with this CCTV and cash site now for round number 2.
Nazgul again electing to bring the Goyo, so he'll be able to bring 2 Vulcan shields to the table. One was placed inside of Cash. I don't know where the second one's placed. If Dev can find it, that would be great. Oh, it's inside a Con, facing in towards bedroom. So Bliss again. It is this weird hybrid of aggressive setup slash util. They're placing the shields that need to be cleared, but they're also opening lines of sight deep in towards Con from Cash. Now that's not too unusual, but it will facilitate that late round aggression from Bliss as they push back that Knight's attack.
This is just free for Dino to open up Garage, nice and early for Knights. Just establishes that Garage pressure super early. Juicy's working on this Kennel's wall. This is probably the site, though, where Bliss do not want to allow Knights to just have free will off-site and open up and establish all these sight lines too comfortably. Bliss will have to get more involved earlier in the round than, say, Church Arsenal prior. A lot of time on the clock, though. The big thing for me is whether or not Knights will put pressure through Con at some point, but it is at the moment looking like a Garage and CCTV wall push.
It is indeed, as the breach has been opened, as well as what Garage. Hayward cooks a nade and will send that over towards the mini stairs there, leading in towards Lounge. Not sure if... Surely that wasn't the nade that took down the shield. Either way, it is taken off the board, and Nazgul now will aggress on that towards the bottom of main stairs. There's a player out the main door, but Shade might be alongside to assist.
See, I don't mind this, though, from Nazgul. Just trying to catch a Knights attacker unaware, pushing down slightly red stairs. Sage is going to get the opening picked onto Sage is going to get onto Shade. Boy, that is a tongue twister. Lotus still up in rafters for Bliss. 4 versus 4. C4 goes out. Not too much information. Misses completely, but he's starting to feel the pressure.
Tricky angle here for Juicy to win outside, but Sage is there to assist. They can flash this out. Dino as well.
Oh.
Lends a hand, and Oda's taken down. This forfeits Garage to the attack, and the Knights can start to mount.
Yeah, pretty good. 50 seconds left. Knights have got the advantage. Now they've got control of Garage. They've got sightlines from CCTV wall. This is shaping up to be a good round for the Knights compared to the prior one in round number 1. Sage down below. Juicy's going to go through, get that plant down. He's got a lot of cover as well. You can see Josh just rappelling off to the right-hand side. He's got the cross sight over on Kennel's wall. Hot somehow gets in and gets the kill onto Juicy, though. Has full control of top red. A lot of work to do.
Timer continues to tick down. Keep in mind, it takes 7 seconds to counter defuse. Continues to trickle as the defenders take control of the site, but Josh is in the power position. He's holding the cross on the rappel, but he ducks down. That could have been right at the wrong time, but it doesn't really matter. They're all mowed down nonetheless, and Josh actually does claim the final pick, the Knights to take the round.
Not gonna lie, guys, my heart flustered a little bit there for a second as he looked down on the rappel and maybe just gave Bliss the slimmest of hopes of being able to cross, get towards rafters, maybe find a pick, and then get on the plan. Last didn't happen. Knights get the round win. Playing that one much better than the first round. Right now, these first 2 rounds are going to be indicative of how this best of 1 plays out. We've got ourselves a right old series that could go the distance. Both teams playing well. Knights, of course, their form has picked up in recent weeks. It's not the same Knights from Playdays 1 and 2 of OCN. Maybe not quite 100% Knights, but they're about 90-95%. They're almost there. Bliss, on the other hand, of course, playing career best Siege. Head over to Gym Bedroom. Knights in early here on Clubhouse. It's Guz's favorite site.
Yep, Gym Bedroom. Glad that we're seeing it being brought out here by the defense, and Bliss are not going to, well, they can't go down below just yet. But they're not going, of course, to re-attempt CC and Cash. Again, pretty similar lineup here from the defense. Todd playing Valkyrie will be able to provide some additional intel to the team alongside the Maestro cameras as well. So there should be a lot to work with here for Bliss. That will likely assist them in their more aggressive playstyle. Don't know how I feel about that camera, Todd. Maybe a little bit too obvious. The second one, or the second placement disguised a little bit better.
I mean, even if it is obvious, it's still going to give you intel. It's still going to give you information. It probably gets taken out pretty easy from that gym window at some point, but then depends on what you do with that info later on in the round. As I mentioned earlier at the start of this game, though, there's really no favored side. Clubhouse has really become 50-50 almost on all of the sites, especially a site like Gym Bedroom used to be considered the more attacker-sided site. We have seen in recent times, though, defenders able to play this quite well. A lot more emphasis over towards Cash has made things harder for the attackers. Top red is now in flames, like its name.
There's a player there.
Josh expecting the run-up, actually, though, from red, and Nazgul has done just that, and he might get a third. No, only half health on Dino, who wins that. Fortunately, otherwise that could have been round over just like in an instant, really. The fact that they were expecting Nazgul to push up top red, and he does so and then finds a double, it's... Knights just caught napping a little bit.
Is it now in a 3 versus 3 with just over half the round remaining? Hayward drones forward to find intel, but Todd, in the meantime, does drop the Ash. One of the key fraggers in this round will no longer play part. That said, Dino and Hayward are a little bit of a dynamic duo. They've been playing together for a while now, and sure they'll be able to get something going here. Still an inkling of hope for the Knights in this round, albeit a small one.
And despite Dino's role, he has been franking out all the stage 1, both OCN and APAC South. He's capable. He's already got 3 kills to his name as well in these first 3 rounds. And there's a lot of time here as well. This can't be understated. There's a minute left. Knights don't have to rush this as it stands currently. They've got a good 40 seconds or so to really check things out, try and flush out a few positions, get members of Bliss moving around. Oh, that swing, though. I don't think Hayward was expecting Todd to just almost walk straight through the door. And he gets the second as well onto Dino, shuts out the round. Bliss go up 2-1.
Todd there rocking the phase skin, looking very, very nice with the Jess Goat charm. Repping the Aussie. Cool to see. It's a good start here for Bliss. It's a 2-1 result in their initial rotations. Of course, You never see the third side here on Clubhouse unless teams are memeing, which either of these teams will be, I presume. So again, that narrative of Clubhouse being really even just continues to ring true.
We head back down to Church Arsenal. Bliss were successful first go around. In fact, it was very successful without being a flawless round, guys. It was almost as flawless as it could get. Knights really not ever standing a chance. I suspect that they're going to pick things up quicker here, but I do like this. So you mentioned it last time out, the soft wall being left open by Shay. It allows him to get those gas canisters out a lot earlier towards that push rather than, say, 10 seconds left and still having 3 in hand. He's already used them all by then.
I really like this new meta downstairs with the shields. We've seen quite a few teams do this now. They place Goyo shields or deployable shields on the boxes inside of Armory, which of course just extends the amount of cover that you have from the kitchen hatch. And in combination with the slight adjustment that they made to the map just to the right of Todd with the stack being heightened, it really does make the back of Arsenal quite strong. We did see a glimpse as well of that set up towards the bottom of the main stairs, and saw Shade playing off that in the previous round, and it did prove to be quite tricky to clear. So I like the fact that the Bliss are doubling down on that, playing their way, and they're forcing the Knights to adapt and overcome that.
The thing for me, though, is that Bliss don't have to get too aggressive. They don't have to make too many plays. I mean, they saw the evidence of that in the first round where they were, I think almost all of them were turtling on site down in basement. And yet Knight still just took so long in dealing with Bliss's defense. So that means that there's not really much of an emphasis on Bliss to get too aggressive, looking to find picks. They have no roamers above. No one that's going to flank onto Knights as they're sort of preparing, opening up these hatches, for instance. Minute and a half. Again, it's just going to shape up to be that last second drop down. Unless they go down moto hatch early, say it around the minute mark or even 45-second mark, that's going to open things up a lot more for Knights.
I don't really see that happening though. Dino more than likely will just play bot main stairs, which he is at the moment. Typically, if you are going to have someone drop the hatch, it would be maybe the Ace, if not the Thermite. Ace, of course, was banned out, so maybe if we see a Thermite brought to the board, that could be the play. I think what's really troubling the Knights at the moment is actually that set up at the bottom of the main stairs, because it does make it quite tricky for Dino and quite risky to peek around and open up that triple ball. He's droning it to make sure it's safe. The shield was taken down. Sage, meanwhile, dunks and finds one. Tries to find the second and does. No one responding here from Bliss. It's 3. Could it be 4? And it is. He's on for the ace. It's Todd left, but Josh steals it. And out of nowhere, the Knights will just take the round.
What do you mean out of nowhere?
Well, I wasn't expecting that.
I'm pretty sure I said something about Moto Hatch.
Yeah,
I said it might open the round up a little bit. You know?
I mean, that was your one good call in a year and a half of passing Siege. I'll give it to you.
Let's look at the replay, though, for this one, because it happened very quick, and it did catch us by surprise, and I certainly would say it caught Bliss by surprise. I mean, Sage literally just drops down Motor Hatch, walks in to Church, and then just catches, what, 2 very quickly, gets a nice snap through into blue, and the round was over just like that. Knights taking Church Arsenal with ease in the end. Well, I say Knights, but it was really Sage.
Yeah, the Sage show. We might have to just get a Sage cam for the next round. Let's just spectate him the entire time. That would be quite the treat. And that is quite interesting. Sage, I could have sworn that when he was initially brought onto this roster, he played more of a support role. But he's naturally sort of transitioned into a more aggressive entry role, which so far has been working out for him. And in this match in particular, proving very fruitful. 7-2 off the back of that 4K, which is quite impressive. Only 4 rounds in to this matchup. So of course the Knights will be leaning into that. Hopefully that continues for them. And if you have a player just send it in 5 picks, it makes the rest of the team's lives a little bit easier.
So the last time we saw Cash and CCTV, I mean, Garage wasn't given up too easily, and there was emphasis from Bliss in defending it, a few ADSs. But for the most part, Knights were able to just push their way in too early on. They got the CCTV wall opened up nice and early. Just much more methodical compared to their very first opening round. It doesn't spell good news for Bliss. If Knights win this, they go to 3. And it just means that at the very least, they're going to be par for the course in terms of this first half. Shade finding that opening frag though into Hayward, and now Bliss feeling as if they're going to get more involved early. That was that either run out or just at least spawn peek from Freezer. And that's something we haven't seen from Bliss so far. It's taken until round 5. And it's worked.
Yeah, and of course, Bliss played Consulate last night against Wildcard, and they didn't shy away from spawn peaks. I guess you could make the argument that Consulate is more conducive to that playstyle. Wow, I love that Ash charge. That is really efficient there from the Knights. Opens up, or allows the wall to get opened up by clearing out the utility, and they just send it deep. They find a couple of picks. It's now a 3 versus 3. Juicy sends it deep to the top of main and finds 1. It's Oda and Repix now left to try and bring this one back, but Repix is shut down. It's Oda, the man, the myth, the legend, but he can't do anything. Sage hits the shot, and the Knights, again, with another explosive execute, will take the round.
The first 4 rounds, guys, playing out like standard Clubhouse. Slow, methodical, structured. And these last 2 round, Knights have just flipped the script. They've gone full gung-ho. Explosive pushes onto site have, again, just caught Bliss completely unaware. I was completely unaware of that happening as well. I mean, the Maverick just bursting through after the exothermic charge goes off, pushing towards top red. They had control down below, which is why they were able to do that. But man, Bliss just unable. How do you even just counter that?
Man, I'd love to know. Of course, it's really difficult for us to tell live if the Knights are actually gaining intel insight with drones and then playing off that, or is it just a confidence feel thing? Again, a little bit tricky to tell. One thing that might be helping them here is the fact that Bliss actually banned out the mute. That might be allowing them to get drones into sight a little bit more easily, and then playing off that intel. Again, tricky to tell. There is also the flip side where the Knights roughly sort of know what's clear and then send it in and play off trades and are just winning all their ones and effectively don't need to trade. That is, of course, another possibility. But at the end of the day, Bliss are dropping rounds and this aggression just is not being matched.
Sage on a 9 bomb already in 5 rounds played. Looking to go into double digits by the end of the half has just been so instrumental for Knights on the attack, as they have an opportunity to go 4-2.5 and take a pretty clear advantage going onto the defense side for Clubhouse. As I mentioned before, it's a pretty 50-50 sort of map nowadays, and going up 4-2 really into any other side, it doesn't really matter. Full garage control for Knights. Are they going to go early again? They're going to find an early pick.
What?
2.5 minutes into the round, Hayward will eliminate Todd. Has he just dropped down Logistics hatch and given himself a nice cozy bunker? Shade from below. How does that not get the elimination onto Hayward? They have the information. They know he's in Logistics. But Hayward is just going to hold this angle. And it may work out by the pixel. He captures Oda's head. Shade at least gets the refrag. But it's all falling apart for Bliss. We've still got 2 minutes on the clock.
Oh no, it's now a 2 versus 2 as Dino drops from the server. Nazgul and Shade though, they're both so low. Nazgul survives 1 more bullet though. He's still alive. Shade as well inside of Logistics. It's going to be tough to hold out here for a minute 40. The Knights with util, with drones, nades as well, critically on the board. All it takes is for Juicy to place one nicely here. He could get them both.
And they should know Nazgul's in the bathroom as well, right? They should have this information. Well, if they didn't, they're about to find out. So that's one that they've got pinched in there. Did they catch the player at 90? I'm not sure. Now they spotted it. Now having both information of both players, they have the information on. Josh is low though. Half health. In fact, now he's just straight dead. Nazgul with the swing out from bathroom with no health at all. Still a minute for Juicy to make something work. And of course, Shade and Nazgul both low on health. One more nade after that one has been thrown as he pushes now into Jim, has the diffuser in hand.
so tough. I don't think he's playing off intel here. He crouches forward, but both players on the defense have positioned beautifully. The
Could've
default
died on
camera
playing
spots him
logistics.
out. He couldn't shoot it. He didn't want to make sound, but it's too late now. They know exactly where Juicy's located, and Bliss can continue to sit back and wait. Juicy considers cooking a nade. He's going to commit to it, try and bounce it in towards where this player's located. Doesn't hit him with the nade, but shoots enough bullets in his direction, and now it's Nazgul left, but he gets another key pick in this round. And Bliss will close out the half.
What an explosive half for our first game of the night for the final play day of OCN. 3-3, all squared up. Bliss stopped the Knights' run. And boy, were they running prior to round 6. They had explosively won. Now, here's the pixel, as I
What is
mentioned
that?
before. Look at this. That is dirty from Hayward in logistics. Yeah. But Knights couldn't capitalize on it, Guz.
Yeah, I was just going to say, and Hayward is, I am almost 100% certain, the only player in this league that even thinks about running what's affectionately known as the Tron side. It's just absolutely putrid and no one wants to run it. But Hayward consistently does, and showing us why that side is actually quite effective. I still don't know how he saw him, but yeah, gave his team a look in on that round, but obviously wasn't enough.
Well, where do we go from here? We've switched halves, of course. Now Bliss on the attack, Knights on the defense. How do we sort of summarize where the second half is going to take place here? I almost in a way, guys, feel like it's a bit of a reset, 0-0, and hard to sort of elect either team as favorites here to close out Clubhouse.
It goes to overtime, doesn't it? It's Oceanic Nationals, so it has to go to overtime. I thought that was the rules.
Could very well be. I mean, and look, honestly, at this rate, I would be more surprised if we don't go to overtime. It's been back and forth. Bliss with a good counterattack in that last round. Great play from Nazgul. You mentioned it off air in that mini break that we had, but the repositioning, the fact that he got both of the kills on that sliver of health as well. Full credit there for Bliss and for Nazgul. Moves up to 625 in terms of KDA. Knights on the defense here. What can Bliss do on the attack?
Kayed being brought to the board here from the Knights to try and deny the wall from getting opened, and Sage is down below to try and protect it from vertical play. Doesn't look like anyone from Bliss will be contesting that at the moment, and in fact Todd will of course use the Maverick to get the wall open nonetheless, or at least attempt to. He's having a couple of teething issues here as he tries to find where it's connected, but he does find it, doesn't take any damage, and that allows Repix now to open it up with the launcher. It's a pretty typical round of CCTV playing out here so far. 10 members still alive. There are pings down below though. They know that Dino's in this position.
Yeah, and this is, yeah, it's pretty stock standard push right now.
Oh,
that
that's
ping
nice.
just, yeah, nicely done from Bliss. Dino had no idea that tiny pixel of his foot was showing there to the camera. So advantage Bliss. They got garage open. They got CCTV wall open as well. It's just hanging out through con. Sage though gets one back onto Nazgul. Still full control of red, actually. Red stairs for Knights, and even having a bit of presence in garage is actually making things difficult for Bliss. There's 55 seconds left, and well, they haven't got control of rafters at all, Gus. And now they've just lost Sage. Well, actually, that's Shade getting Sage. Boy, that's the second time now those names have tripped me up a little bit.
It's Hayward still in rafters for the defense, trying to hold on here for the Knights. Still a decent amount of utility for the attack to work with. Flashbangs as well as nades are still in hand. So Hayward's position is not very safe at the moment. Todd will come around with the grenade. If he hits this, they might be able to get themselves into this round, but Hayward drops one. That Shade taken down. He's probing, trying to find another.
Got him.
The grenade forces him to reposition. He gets finished off, and the nade will do the
Look at the
job.
time.
Now it's Josh and Juicy to hold on. But yeah, that time's ticking down quick.
10 seconds left, 2 versus 3. Juicy and Josh, have they got the angles covered to really deny this plant from Bliss? It's Oda who now pushes in onto CCTV. He's going to stick this defuse. He's got no choice from below, though. The C4 from Josh is going to just tear this round apart. Knights will take it out. And another close one right down to the wire. Replaced?
Had to have been. Really good work there from the Knights, and that is the risk that you run. And Team Bliss elected not to clear below, at least not in the late round, and it proved deadly. No time to reposition for the plant. They scrambled for the refrag, but they were unable to get it in the end. So the Knights will edge out. But, you know, this game's still incredibly close. There's no denying that, of course. And I'm keen to see what the basement's like. For me, this was really the fun site to watch for Bliss. They had a bit of a creative setup. That said, it was torn to shreds on the second occasion, but keen to see how that contrasts to the Knights hold.
Yeah, I'd say torn to shreds was the right way to summarize that. Sage just dropping murder. I mean, hey, if you can't push in front of it, why not just drop down below and go behind it? It worked out pretty well. Bliss will be on the attack. I don't sense Knights will follow the same suit. I mean, Juicy is on the smoke, but highly doubt we'll see them adapt the same play style that we saw from Bliss, and they're not going to be doing that. So we will be able to at least, I guess, see the differences between how the smoke is utilized between the two teams. Bliss, you know, able to use those gas canisters a lot earlier into the round, say around that 30-second mark, for instance, start throwing them out rather than the, 15-second mark.
Yeah, a lot more traditional here from the Knights, reinforcing everything off, establishing that utility on site, but
Above?
the ace up the sleeve might be the roam. They've got Hayward and Sage above, keeping in mind there's no Mozzie or Mute picked here. So if Bliss are efficient on their drones, if they had drones set up in the prep phase and live drones now, there's no reason why they shouldn't be able to hunt these players down, as Oda sees the footsies there of a defender running past. Josh, in the meantime, does shut down one of the entries though, and that could be a big pick in halting this push.
Yeah, and this is the difference between the two teams already that we're seeing. Again, that's actually going to be from Freezer again. The difference already is that we're seeing Knights just being way more aggressive, whereas the very opening round that we saw from Bliss on the defense, very much on site, play to that smoke and blocking off lobby. But the action has already taken place. We've already lost 2 players, still got 2 minutes to go. So stark contrast between the two play styles, the two teams. Right now, though, I'm not sure if I'd want to be taking Knights on in terms of these ones. I mean, especially if Sage is the one that's maybe running around. He's got an 11-2-4 record at the moment in this match. He is sharp tonight. And I'm not sure if there's anyone from Bliss that can go with him at the moment.
A lot of blue outlines downstairs, all 4 members retreating back to site, meaning there's no more roam to contend with here for Team Bliss. Instead, they'll be working the hatches. Shade inside a stock will be able to get that one open uncontested, and then of course, they'll be looking to open bar, which has been electrified with an electro claw, and then kitchen, which I presume has probably been electrified as well. The one in bar that drops in towards Moto might be a little bit trickier to clear. Of course, Todd does have nades though, and he can launch those from the main stairs or from vert from above to clear that. Or of course, you can take the easier route of just opening up with the Mav torch, which is what they'll do. Meanwhile, on the side of kitchen, Josh sitting below, he'll impact trick the first of the ex-Kairos pallets, but Oda still has 10 in the bank to work with.
There's not much time, though. 45 seconds left. Sense that the longer that this goes on in being unable to open this kitchen hatch, which again, the frag grenade is going to be successful, the harder it's going to be for Bliss. Their attack has just stalled dramatically now. So much so that Oda's just going to now push down central stairs and, well, can't do that. That's electrified, mate. Takes a peek down the hallway. 20 seconds left, and yeah, time of the essence here. And I think Knights are going to be able to win this round.
Ideally, if they want to open that wall, they need Todd's nades, but he's on the other side and he's already used them all now. So it's a 3-on-4 late second push here from Bliss. They pick up the diffuser as they head in through Moto, but Sage finds one, almost finds a second, but gets traded out. Still a slight chance that Bliss could bring this back, but as the timer ticks down, it's a 1 versus 3. Repix needs to go absolutely huge here, but he won't have the time to work with, and the Knights can hold on for another defensive win.
Look, I think you give Repix another 10 seconds and maybe there's a chance he actually clutches that round out, but that's just not enough time in the bank. Knights look good though on the defense, Scars. 5-3, just maybe starting to pull away from Bliss here. As this match goes on, they have looked better and better. And we've got to remember and sort of go back. Bliss had that 2-1 start. So since then, it's been 4-1 to Knights. That's a large discrepancy. We head to Gym Bedroom though, and I gotta say it, but Bliss have to win this site now.
Big round for Bliss, as they are, of course, contending for that top position in the league. The Knights, meanwhile, hot on their trail, looking to get full points in this matchup to jump ahead. I like this from Hayward. He 6 picks onto the Frost in this round. ITO shotgun secondary can create rotates, and those Frost mats quite deadly on this side in particular due to the amount of vault ins. Forces the attackers, of course, to clear them or look down as they jump in, which is a vulnerability in itself. And it may well catch the attack off guard. Every now and again, Frost doesn't even get spotted, and it does pay dividends. That said, I think Todd might have been outside the breach there in Jacuzzi, so would have seen the Frost and called that out.
5 seconds left.
Yeah, I mean, the Frost mat's one thing. You also get the shield, you get the shotgun to open things up as well. So it's just a very versatile character. I know there's been a lot of discussion about why it gets played so much in APAC South, for instance, or even, I think even, pretty sure even APAC North sees a lot of Frost play too. So let's see how it plays out here for Knights on Gym Bedroom. Bliss must win this round. We'll just kind of reiterate the stakes here. We don't have a live standings update technically, but if Knights do win this out and get all 3 points, then they will jump above Bliss. Knights will go to 14 points. Bliss will be on 13 points. Doesn't necessarily guarantee Knights top spot, guys, but it will for the time being. It'll also mean Bliss, of course, cannot get top spot. So, I mean, it's a bit on the line, I guess, in a sense. Josh just missing that that disc. Needs to get some lessons from Digital.
Josh in a powerful position here with the MP5 and the 1.5 toe. Oda now will send out some flashes to burn those magnets and ADSs covering that position. Todd now likely will drop and nade it out, or Nazgul can send in an Ash charge. The latter will be successful and the shield's taken down. Dino, meanwhile, holding an aggressive angle, but I think now both players will take that as a cue to run away, get back to side, and hold on with their life.
As soon as that shield really goes down, you're going to see most teams fall back. I mean, actually, I'm going to even say this, guys. I've seen players literally run back even before the shield goes down. As soon as that wall is open, sometimes teams will elect to give up top red and cash. So I think job done for Knights. They really wasted quite a bit of time contesting that position. Knights also got a lot of utility out of Bliss. So job done. Knights probably the very slight advantage here on out, but things can change quickly. All it takes is a frag or two from these Gym Bedroom windows. Just catch someone from Knights slipping a little bit. That Frost mat's still up. Hayward just sitting inside a gym. Todd's got to be careful.
Pressure being applied from the windows, but the Knights quite content in sitting back and waiting. That said, Repix does find one from the window position. As we briefly see Sage down below, potentially going for a flank, but there's a fair chance he'll send it up main to support the rest of his team. As we stand, this round's still quite even. Keep in mind those Frost mats might still be on the board on the Voltins. In fact, there's one on Bedroom and one on Gym that will need to be contended with if Bliss are not careful.
Just sort of
Oh, the one tap.
going down. Todd gets one back onto Dino. That keeps the advantage for Bliss. 20 seconds left. Knights on the verge of match point, which would secure 1 point. Todd, nice flick onto Sajon. Keeps the advantage for Bliss. Oda can stick this plant. There's a swing. That's Josh. He gets eliminated at waist height, and Bliss will get the must-needed round. 5-4.
Kind words from Nazgul there in the chat, complimenting Juicy on his shot. Sounded like it was a clean one tap with the pistol. So good on him for hitting his shot. That said, Bliss do still take the round. They keep themselves alive in regulation. Let's have a quick look at the flick from Todd. Ooh, that's sharp. Not bad. And then a good hold on during the plant there from Bliss. All angles
what I
covered.
noticed? You know what I noticed in that round in particular, Gus, more than anything was the amount of kills we got. Congrats to our obs.
Yeah, how many did we get?
I actually didn't count, but I felt like we got the majority of them.
Yeah, it wasn't bad.
It's
I think that observer last night was a little bit better. What was his name again?
oh, Gus, it's
that was his name. Yeah, that was the one.
Gus, yeah, that was his name. Yeah, the guy who alt tabbed.
Yeah. Never gonna live that one down. Who took
Bliss
the timeout?
out.
Bliss.
Bliss.
Okay.
That's what I'm trying to say, but you won't stop talking.
Sorry, it's my job.
Well, Bliss won the round, and then they take the timeout.
Which is interesting. I think last night, right, it was Ruffle that took the tack timeout after they won a round, and I think they cited ultimately the reason for that being that they just felt that the round prior wasn't as clean as it should have been, and they wanted to tidy a couple of things up. So it could be a similar story here for Bliss, who, despite winning that round and still well and truly in this match, aren't completely happy with everything that's going on inside of the server. That could be anything ranging from comms to execution of strategy. The list is very exhaustive. So maybe Bliss will tighten up now off the back of that quick little break, and they'll look rejuvenated as they try and close out regulation.
I got no choice. I mean, I don't want to start going into the numbers game, because once we go into the numbers game, especially maths on stream, guys, that's when we go down a very bad hole. But if Knights win this round, right, and this is where it's really weird, as Sage in stock just seeing if he can catch someone early on in this round. Nice pick up here from our observer. But if Knights win this, of course, they secure 1 point, right? What that means is, if Knights win this round, Bliss can no longer get all 3 points. It's just not possible, which opens up the door that top spot will no longer be secured if Bliss win. Even if they get 2 points, there's a chance, I think, that Order can actually maybe take top spot. There's a whole bunch of other things that come into it. So very, very important that Bliss can come back and win in regular time. Otherwise, well, maybe 1 or even 2 spot won't be secured.
Shade, meanwhile, in this round, establishing a drone towards Dino inside of Bar to hold that rotation. Dino hears the drone and might try and find it, and does. Good work from him, considering doesn't feel like it was that long ago he got caught off guard by well-placed drone, and he may well again here. In fact, Nazgul has one locked on his location. He can ping that out for a teammate and could get a kill off the back of it, but Dino does see it as he rotates up the main stairs, and no one there from Bliss to cut him off, as of course they're preoccupied opening garage on the main wall, which they've done so. Expect the pressure now to be applied to Hayward holding rafters.
I'm not sure if Dino's playing like a different role or something tonight, but 327 has been very, very quiet night from him, considering he's had a very good season. And I know yourself many times have pointed out him fragging and being able to get kills on the board with relative ease, but tonight that has not been the case. Fortunately, Sage has taken over those duties. Oh, Todd just caught unaware. You know there's a player up in rafters, but hadn't realized that Hayward had already made a move. Hayward, though, he's going to be down as well. I mean, that's an even trade.
Hayward won't be finished off here, at least not yet, but equally no one from the Knights will be able to cross that line of sight and revive him. So effectively, this is a 4 versus 5 in favor of Bliss. Oda makes his way up rafters, finishes off the kill, and can now start to instruct the team to think about the execute. This is a good time management. Is above board here for the attack. It's going to come down to that plant now. Will the Knights be able to shut this down? They have 2 C4s to work with.
Yeah, good point. I was going to bring that one up. Still 2 C4s, Josh and Sage, 1 at peace. Josh close by, just singing cash, can of course flick one over pretty quickly, which apparently is what happened last time. Shade just catching a bit of that smoke, gets him to half health, has to be careful. Has the diffuser in hand, makes the run across into the electrified wall, takes a bit of unnecessary damage, going for the plant, and Juicy's going to be able to deny this one pretty comfortably, even with the player pushing up red stairs. Bliss just capitulate in the end. Knights will secure a match point.
Wow, that looked really bad there on the side of Bliss as they tried to get that plant down. The unorthodox position didn't quite work out. That said, in that scenario, to be fair, they didn't have a very viable solution. The Knights still had a smoke in the pocket, which would have been used to burn more time. C4s are still on the board. They couldn't really run to the con wall protected either because they hadn't cleared main stairs. So sure, the time management was great, but the util management from the Knights simply was better in the end, and they shut down that attack, secure at least 1 point, and they positioned themselves really nicely now to close things out.
I should mention that if Bliss actually do come back and get the 2 points with an overtime win, it would actually be enough to still secure top spot as they have the tiebreaker against Order, which is the only team that would be able to then overtake Bliss. So there's a bit of a fun fact. It's actually not over yet for Bliss, but it could very well be soon if they can't force the OT. They've got 2 rounds to do so. Knights with match point. If Knights win this, they will be temporarily in first place. But of course, that can change with the other results tonight.
Basement being reattempted here by the Knights, and it was successful for them in round number 8. So Bliss will need to switch things up and be cleaner on this occasion. Keep in mind, last time, the Knights, they dedicated to a soft roam. Bliss did an okay job in shutting it down. The Knights did fall back quite early, not under a whole lot of pressure, but they had to set up on site to hold out, which was really nice to see.
I like the vigil here, and I like the aggressive nature from Knights. You're up 6-4, you got nothing to lose. You're in Church Arsenal, which is pretty decent. If you can find 1 kill somewhere on the map with the vigil or with anyone else, really, whoever else is maybe roaming around with Josh, you get that 5-on-4 advantage. Yeah, Hayward sitting up in rafters. So if either of these two can find a kill, that's probably almost round done for Bliss if they go in with at a numerical disadvantage towards the very end of this round. Of course, on the flip side, though, if Bliss can catch Hayward or Josh, take the advantage going in. Hayward's going to give up early, drop down oil pit, put down that goo mine and retreat. No, not too surprising. Josh still on the 2nd floor, though. Starts to make his way down, and he's got Dino up there as well on the Malusi. So Knight's still committing to this roam game.
Droning here will be of critical importance for Bliss. Again, keep in mind, they banned out the mute. That is to directly counter this exact setup we are seeing here from the Knights, where they're trying to deny intel and roam above. Dino collects yet another drone here from the attack. Only 4 left.
Wow.
4 are only available, but Todd, he critically cuts off a player on the main stairs. That was Josh on the vigil, leaving only Dino above. He's going to be forced into the swing as he gets lit up from behind, and he doesn't win the fight. A great pinch from Bliss will give them the advantage.
Unfortunately for Knights, the aggression just does not pay off. Now they're down 2 players with 1.5 minutes remaining. They lose both their top roamers. Of course, we saw Hayward earlier, who was in Garage. He fell back through Oil Pit, so he's now on site. Nazgul had the prime opportunity to get that head, but some Xenox reaction time there. No, that's not a good thing.
No. The boomer reaction's out in full force. Oh well. Bliss, fortunately, though, they still hold that advantage as Shade works dirt juicy.
Oh, he's not going to swing out.
He could get aggressive swing to the left and find that back of the head of Shade.
Oh.
It might be a little bit too late. No, but he is holding this position. If a player does go to dirt, they'll be caught unaware.
Yeah, you'd almost bank Juicy to find the kill here.
Oh, here we go.
Surely Oda dies. Oda's definitely dead. And at the exact same time, Elsa on the map, Todd goes down. Goodbye to that 5-on-3 advantage. There's only 30 seconds left as well. Credit to Knights, credit to the positioning of Juicy. Nazgul now makes his way over. Shade on the Thermite has the diffuser. Looks like he's going to have to drop down that kitchen hatch from what I can see in terms of the outline. 15 seconds left. Repix is down inside of blue. It's Hayward against Shade. It's match point. Can Bliss hold on here? It seems like the match is against them. Repix can't find the kill. 4 seconds left. Nazgul's down. There's no diffuser in hand for Repix. No time to get the kills. Knights will win. And they take top spot, even if it is just for the moment. They deny Bliss the perfect start to the season as well. That's their first loss of the season for Bliss. Knights 7-4 winners.
That's the Knights we love to see. A confident 7-4 victory in the end. They set themselves up to finish near the top of the standings, which will prove very fruitful come the playoffs gauntlet bracket. And yeah, that was just a solid display of siege. I really enjoyed that last round in particular for me, was the fact that they were at the disadvantage, they brought it back, and they denied so much intel. At the 3v3 at the end, Bliss had one drone. Now, I'm not sure if that was in pocket or on the map, but either way, one drone for an execute of that sort of scale is just not going to end well, which it didn't. And Hayward was just given the license to pop off.
Well, can you believe it, guys? After the start that we saw from Knights in terms of the season, Playdays 1, Playday 2, they're in top spot now. After completing all 7 of their matches, they currently occupy first place. They, of course, are 1 point above Bliss. Now, I mean, what does that say about them really going into playoffs? They've really hit form at the right time.
Well, yeah, that's exactly the thing. You want to be hitting that form right at the end of the season. It's all good and well to make the top 5, but we've seen time and time again with other teams in the region. They do all right during the season, then they make playoffs and they just flop. So there's no point finding your form too early, and maybe the Knights have timed it right.
Maybe they have, and for Bliss, maybe the timing slightly off, but in fairness, they played a very solid Knights roster tonight. Really good outfit. For the most part, Bliss kept it pretty close. You know, they got it back to that 5-4 sort of scoreline. I felt like the map suited Knights more. Knights just looked a little bit more clinical. Knights also probably looked to take a bit more aggression as well to the game. We saw it multiple times. The Sage drop down Moto Hatch, for instance. The run through on the Maverick through the charge on CCTV wall. Just 2 of the notable pushes that we saw in terms of those fast executions from Knights on their attack, and obviously on the defense. Happy to play a bit of the roam game too. So a very deserved 7-4 scoreline. Bliss just couldn't quite cut it with the big boys.
Yeah, and looking at the stats, often it is easy to get sucked in by the big numbers up the top and just highlight the fraggers, but I do want to talk about Sage. As I said a little bit during the match, he's been fulfilling this entry role really, really well, and he's been quite consistent throughout the season. Tonight, of course, he went +2 on the entry. 13 picks, 92% of those headshots, so maybe 1 or 2 at most that were not. That is very, very sharp and did facilitate the early round advantage for the Knights.
The thing that boggles me more than anything is this cost percentage stat. 91% for Dino, despite going 5-8. I don't know which one to believe. I don't know which one I should be looking at and say, you know, maybe Dino had a poor game. He went 5-8, less impactful. Didn't really see many plays from him. But Cost says he was amazing.
Yeah. I don't know. Dino's had a bit of a weird week. He started off the season really, really well, but it's felt like this week, both in OCN and even late last week in APAC South, he's just slowed down a little bit. So that's all right. He'll bounce back. I'm sure he'll find that form in playoffs when it really matters.
Well, I don't think he's out of form necessarily. I think it's fine to have an off night, whether it's 1 or even 2 off nights.
As long as you win and you're not just going
exactly.
0-15. Like, as long as you're not doing a manic, you're doing all right. So.
And I think also happy to sit back and maybe just let Sage have the spotlight tonight. Let's go to our interview, though. It is going to be juicy from Knights. Firstly, I do want to say, mate, congratulations on the win, but also on being able to sort of, I don't want to say save your season, but of course you guys started slow to be able to finish off strongly going into playoffs. You guys look like your old self.
Yeah, getting back to it, it was one of those things I always talk about. That it's a balancing act of all the play days we have this season, and like the more weeks we get into it, the more we get more comfortable with having this many days we got to play. So it's just getting used to it and rolling with the punches as is.
Yeah, I'd be interested for you to talk maybe a little bit more about how this kind of crazy week or 2 has gone for the team. What does your preparation actually look like? I know Specker, for example, last night said you don't really have the time to focus in on other teams specifically. So for you guys, has it been more internal reviewing and making sure that everything's going well, at least on your side?
Of course, it's so hard to prepare for 4 different teams in a week. You prioritize what are your most, I suppose, your hardest games are, and you do your prep for that if you have time. But in between scrimming or trying to scrim at least, you lack of at the moment. But it's just internal review. You look at what you're doing. You can only play your best game at the moment. So I think dealing with that the best you can is how you're gonna get ahead in this.
I've seen a comment behind the scenes from our lovely observer tonight, which is of course Dev Mata. He has he's brought up the fact that apparently he's been told Sage is the IGL, and if he is the IGL, how you feel that works as the fact that he's the sort of entry fragger on the team.
When we brought Sage in, he obviously like just learning how we play the game and that, and then over time we knew that like his ideas of the game are quite good. He has a really good understanding of it, so wanted to see how that would work with us. And he's honestly, roles are one thing we all have. Like, there's no obviously he does call like the main pushes of that, but we all chip in, so it's not like him just calling everything that we're doing, and he can obviously focus on his game, and we all chip in where we need, and so it's. But he does an amazing job for us, and without him, we'd be a bit lost sometimes. So, yeah, it's good.
Cool. I guess my final question will be, let's start talking about the weekend. We don't know exactly where you'll finish. It could, of course, be first, depending on the order matchup later tonight. But are there any teams, if any, that you're seeing maybe as a threat in the playoffs? I guess if so, why do you see that team as a threat? And if you guys think you'll take it all, why is that the case?
Yeah. Obviously, we're confident in every game that we go into. I don't think any team really is a threat. Obviously, we have our games that look a bit harder than that, but that's just, some teams you either struggle more against or you can stomp, basically. But I don't think there's any team that you're going to stand out. Like, we just have to roll with it, with the way that it's going to work with the Gauntlet final. You don't know who you're really going to be end up versing, and the way this season's gone, it could be anyone. Like, it could be Bliss, it could be Order. I think Bliss or Order is probably the two that they're looking at probably going to be coming into the finals against. So, yeah, I don't know. You just kind of roll with the punches, as I keep saying. It's so hectic at the moment, so we just got to take it one step at a time and see where it leads us.
It's that kind of season, isn't it, where I think the best teams need to be versatile and, as you said, roll with the punches. Any final shout-outs, of course, to really close off the regular season from you guys?
As always, it's thanks to all you guys, the cast, just the broadcast team, to our manager, Kata, coach, Picky, and analyst, Sketchy. Without them, things wouldn't be possible, and to all the fans that support us each week. Without them, it wouldn't be as fulfilling coming out here and doing what we do. So, yeah, just thanks to everyone.
Best of luck in the playoffs, mate, and also best of luck in APAC South tomorrow onwards.
Lovely. Thank you.
Tonight's Reclaim top spot, I think for the first time this season, but of course Reclaim it's almost from last season, guys. It's taken them just a bit longer than we thought it would take them, but alas, they're there. We'll of course later on in the night whether or not they will finish there, though that remains to be seen. But for the most part, going into the playoffs, we would have to favor them as maybe the best team again in the region based on the current form.
One of, but I think the thing that really stood out to me in that interview is the fact that even Juicy himself would admit that any team could perform well in the playoffs. You have the best 2 days of your life in Siege, and you could go from 5th to 1st. Who knows? Bit of a safe answer from him in terms of seeing Order and Bliss as the biggest threats, because that's where they are in the standings at the moment. But yeah, I don't know. If the Knights do somehow manage to finish first and the Order result goes their way, I'd probably have to agree with you. They'd be in a great position to take it out.
Yeah, maybe that matchup later on tonight, the Order Rafflecopter one, might very well decide who should be regarded as the best going into the playoffs. Regardless, the rest of the night is still to come, and it just gets more interesting from here. Coming up after the break, it's do or die for Wildcard and Chiefs.